For the last 20 years, I've listened to quite a few speakers, and I've also bought quite a few speakers, like this one for example. But I've never owned a Martin Logan speaker. For some reason, this design was never really something for me. Will the Martin Logan ESL 15A change it? Is that truly a Renaissance speaker? Let me tell you all about the Martin Logan speaker in this review. Martin Logan has been in the business for more than 40 years. They started their electrostatic design in the late 70s, and they really broke through with the Martin Logan statement speaker in the late 90s. But they have changed quite a lot over the years, and now they inherit quite a lot of technology from their subwoofer division, which started in the early 2000s. This is the ESL 15A, and it's the current top-of-the-line Martin Logan speaker. I am currently at Hi-Fi Audio in Düsseldorf, in their main listening room. I have been here so many times and I have listened to so many great speakers. So today, when I listened to the ESL 15A, I can perfectly compare it to all of my other experiences I've had here. If you ever have the chance to check out Hi-Fi Audio equipment in the Düsseldorf area, don't forget to stop by at Hi-Fi Audio here in Düsseldorf. Today I'm going to review this speaker. First I'm going to give it a side score, then I'm going to give it a sound score, and then I'm going to give it an overall audio score, my personal audio score. Starting with the review, I didn't do much research beforehand. I just came here this morning, I sat down and I started to listen to these amazing speakers. The team from Hi-Fi Audio used the calibration system of the speakers to perfectly calibrate them to this room and to my listening position. So everything was prepared. Now let me tell you all about it. The first category under sight is convenience, and I'm going to give the ESL 15A a 7 out of 10 for convenience. That is a very, very high score for such a huge loudspeaker. This loudspeaker is 140 pounds and 6 feet tall. Still, it is much more convenient than most of its competition. If you compare the weight to other loudspeakers in this price range, it's not very heavy. It's rather on the lighter side. Still, if you put it in the right listening position, you shouldn't move it around as much. And now the most important part. If you go to your local hi-fi dealer and you listen to your speakers, they usually sound amazing in a damped, nicely set up room. Then you bring them home in your living room or in your studio and you might hear something completely different. The room correction system, which is integrated into these speakers, eliminates this. No matter where you place those ESL 15As, they will sound amazing everywhere. And that is very convenient. Therefore, 7 out of 10. Next up in the side category is looks and styling. And this is a make or break speaker. You either love the looks and styling of this speaker or you hate it. There is no in between. Over the last 20 years, I must say, I was never a really big fan of this design. But looking at it now, especially looking at the fit and finish of the new Martin Logan speakers, I kind of start to like it. There is something that I like about this speaker. There's something that I like about this design. I think over the years it will age very well, and it will age much better than many other speakers. Therefore, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 for looks and styling. Next up is quality. And if you pay 30 grand for a new pair of speakers, quality should be an important factor, right? And I must say, for the last 15 years, I was never a big fan of Martin Logan speakers. Also because of the fit and finish and the overall quality. There were some other brands that simply excelled in quality and fit and finish. This has changed now. There is really nothing to complain about anymore. The fit and finish is excellent. The binding posts are very well made and very sturdy. And overall, I must say, Martin Logan has done a great job with the ESL 15As and with all of its speakers in that range. Therefore, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for quality. Next category is features, and features is a very, very strong one for the Martin Logan ESL 15As. Again, especially if you compare it to most of its competitors in the $30,000 a pair price range. Most of the speakers in that price range are passive speakers, where you have to invest a lot of money into powerful amplification to get the most out of those speakers. An with the ESL 15As. Because the ESL 15As have a passive panel for the highs and mids, they also have an active part for the woofer system. So it has a 500 watts Class D amplifier for the woofer system, which makes sure that you always have enough power for the woofers. So your external amplification only needs to power the panel, which is the highs and mids. So you can save quite a lot of money because you don't have to invest as much into your power amplification, your external power amplification. However, I wouldn't recommend spending less than 5K, let's say around, for an integrated amplifier if you use a pair of ESL 15As. Those are still very, very great speakers that deserve some kind of powerful and high quality amplification. Another thing is the auto room correct system. So if you buy your regular passive speakers and you place them in various rooms, as I said earlier, you will have different results. And if you would compensate for that, you can buy external decoders and external devices that do the room correction for you. Those are usually fairly expensive from companies such as Lyngdorf, for example, and you can easily spend up to 10-15K for a very, very good room correction system. If you buy the ESL 15As, you have that included as well. So you not only get a speaker, you also get a powerful Class D amplifier and a room correction system. Therefore, I'm giving the ESL 15As a 9 out of 10 for features, because it's not a fully active speaker and it's not as smart as I wish it to be. But maybe next year or in a few years we will see the first speakers that are of that quality and super smart. But 9 out of 10 for features is a great score, and it is a much higher score than most of its competitors. The Martin Logan ESL 15As come in at 29 out of 40 points in the category sight. And that is very, very good for a speaker that costs $30,000, weighs 140 pounds and is more than 6 feet tall. So why such a high sight score? Well, it is much more convenient to use than most of its competitors. It is of very, very good build quality. It looks fairly decent and also kind of timeless. And overall, it's a very well-rounded package in the sight category. Therefore, well-deserved 29 out of 40 points. Next up is the sound category, and if you are like me, then the sound category is probably more important to you than the sight category. So let's kick off with technical specifications and audio excellence. Technical specifications. Well, sensitivity is 92 dB, very, very good, and the frequency response is 22 Hertz up to 21 kilohertz. So the 21 kilohertz is rather on the lower end of the spectrum. There are many other tweeter designs that can go higher up the range, but the 22 is extremely low and the frequency response is extremely flat. So for me, those are very, very good numbers for the technical specifications, especially in combination with the 92 dB sensitivity. Audio excellence is another big one. This is not your average speaker. Audio excellence for me means what kind of design is behind the sound? Like, is it good audio engineering? And this is a prime example of excellent audio engineering. Martin Logan took what they've learned in their subwoofers from so many years ago and built this amazing design to bring the best sound for us in any environment. Therefore, for audio excellence and specifications, the ESL 15A receives a 9 out of 10. Next up is detail, and the detail the loudspeaker exposes in the sound. And is also a very, very strong category for the ESL 15As, because the ESL 15As manage to bring you all the detail that you might want and more without sounding harsh or annoying at any point. Therefore, the ESL 15A receive a 9 out of 10 for detail. I use songs like Billie Eilish, I Love You, and you hear the separation of Billie's and her brother's voice so drastically, and it is so detailed, and you hear it in such a natural way that I was blown away. Also, when you listen to Adele on her album, I think 25 it is, with the track I Miss You, you really hear the strings of the bass guitar fade away with the ESL 15As. I must say, something I have never really heard to this extent with any of the Focal or Bowers & Wilkins speakers that I'm used to generally. So overall, a very, very detailed sounding speakers, but also very, very detailed sounding at minimum volume. So another very big pro for the ESL 15A is the ability to reproduce a very detailed sound even at minimal volumes. And isn't that what we all want sometimes? Next up is imaging, and imaging is the most controversial category of this review. Let me tell you why. I have never reviewed a more controversial, or I would even say I've never listened to a more controversial speaker when it comes to imaging. And that is because of the room correction system. The room correction system creates this great soundstage when you sit in the sweet spot. But as soon as you leave it, that soundstage is gone. Why is it gone? Because of the room correction system. This shows the power of the room correction system in itself. This shows how this speaker would sound like if you didn't have that room correction system. So in general, this hybrid design in combination with the room correction system creates this amazing soundstage in the sweet spot. But it falls apart as soon as you leave it. Therefore, ask yourself the question, are you a person that listens to your high-end sound system in the sweet spot? Or maybe in 2-3 sweet spots, because you can define multiple with the ESL 15As? Or are you a person that listens to music in a more, let's say, casual way, walking around the house, maybe even dancing, maybe having friends over, having a party? Then I would say there are better options, especially at that price range. If you listen to the speaker in the sweet spot, I would give it a 9 out of 10, maybe a 10 out of 10. When you leave the sweet spot, it's a 3 out of 10. Therefore, decide for yourself. Since I do both, I run around the house and I also listen in the sweet spot, I give it a 7 out of 10. Next up is bass, and if you are like me, then this is also a very important category for you. I really like bass-heavy music. I really like to hear out the different textures and the different tonalities in the bass, and for that you need a very good speaker. And the ESL 15A is one of those speakers that can deliver exactly that bass performance that you need. With two 12-inch woofers per speakers and the 500 watts Class D amplifier, there is plenty of power, and I think for 9 out of 10 scenarios the ESL 15As are more than enough. If you want a little bit more, then you can just turn the knob on the back of the speaker to give it a little bit more, to give it 1 or 2 decibels more in the bass. Or if they deliver a little bit too much bass for you, you can just turn it down a little bit. And if the ESL 15As don't give you enough, you can also always go with an additional subwoofer that will then bring your walls to shake. Overall, bass performance of the ESL 15A is amazing. Very textured, very detailed, punchy, dry. 9 out of 10. Next up is synergy, and synergy is a very important category for me, as I've stated many times before. And synergy is also a strong point for the ESL 15As. The ESL 15As, because of the hybrid design, don't need 600 watts per channel of external amplification. You already have 500 watts for the bass module, so you basically only need amplification for the mids and the highs. And I would say a pretty good tube amplifier or a good integrated amplifier is more than enough. I think we've made the comparison between the 611s from Macintosh and the MA8900 integrated amplifier, and 9 out of 10 times you will not hear a difference between the MA8900 and the Macintosh separates with these speakers, because the MA8900 with the 200 watts per channel is more than enough and of high quality to power those speakers. So because of the room correction system, because of the very good sensitivity of the speakers, synergy is another very, very strong point for the ESL 15As, and therefore I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Next up is value, and value is a very important category, because if you pay $30,000 for a pair of speakers, you hope to get a very good value. And let me tell you, Martin Logan speakers, at least here in Europe, have depreciated quite a lot over the last 20 years. There are other brands which have performed much better in the resale, have had much higher resale values than Martin Logan. However, I think this will change over the next couple of years, because with this product, Martin Logan really has created a renaissance of high-end, moving away from passive design to something that leverages today's technology, such as the hybrid design and this room correction system that has been around for many years in other use cases and has now swapped over into these high-end system, such as the Martin Logan ESL 15As. So let's hope resale value will increase over the next couple of years, because this is a great product. And let's also take into consideration what you also need. So for example, if you buy a competitive product, you need significantly more expensive amplification because of the passive design, and you need to invest into a room correction system, which is also generally fairly expensive, at least if you go for the good ones. Therefore, overall, I think at 30K right now, the Martin Logan ESL 15As are of good value, of good to very good value, but they will be a bargain when you find them on the used market.